I watched pretty much every single one of Caitlin's games early on because I am a fan. I do like good basketball. And of course, I wanted to see how she would do.
Let's jump right into a growing issue in the WNBA that's been catching a lot of attention from fans, players, and analysts. Sue Bird, one of the league's most respected figures, has brought to light a serious problem impacting the WNBA's credibility and leadership under Commissioner Cathy Engelbert. At the heart of the controversy is Caitlin Clark, the breakout star of the season. Her record-breaking performance has been overshadowed by how the league has handled her rise to fame, and it appears the problem goes all the way to the top.
I just don't. And it actually, we talked about this before, like the fan that went hard at Caitlin at the Connecticut Sun game in game 1 or 2, I can't remember, where there was an interaction where the fan almost got ejected. It's like, none of this is okay. And we never accept it. We never accept this on the men's side. Why is it okay in our league? Mm-hmm. Why is it, welcome to mainstream sports?
We're about to dive into how Sue Bird's revelations and the WNBA's leadership decisions have uncovered some serious flaws in the league's foundation. Why was Caitlin Clark, who brought in more viewers and fans, treated in a way that left many upset? And what role does Commissioner Engelbert play in all of this? Stick around, because we're breaking down what all this means for the future of the league. But before we get started, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Let's go.
We do sit at this intersection of culture and sport and fashion and music. Like the WNBA players are really looked at now as kind of cultural icons.
True.
And when you have that, you have a lot of attention on you. There's no more apathy. Everybody cares. It is a little that Bird magic moment, if you recall, from 1979 when those two rookies came in from a big college rivalry.
Commissioner Cathy Engelbert's recent comments have caused a stir and sparked heated debates among WNBA fans and analysts. During an appearance on CNBC's Power Lunch she stated that rivalries are crucial for boosting the sport's visibility. While the intention was to highlight the importance of competition, the timing of the statement felt off, especially given the negative attention players like Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese have received. Her remarks became even more controversial when she singled out these players in particular.
One white, one black. And so we have that moment with these two. But the one thing I know about sports, you need rivalry. That's what makes people watch. They want to watch games of consequence between rivals. They don't want everybody being nice to one another. It's a balance, but certainly from a marketing dollars, but corporate partners are stepping up to endorse these players, much more so than they were 5 years ago.
The problem wasn't just with the statement itself, but with what it revealed about the league's priorities. Critics, including soccer legend Megan Rapinoe, pointed out that Engelbert's focus on rivalries, rather than on player safety and well-being, was a major misstep. On her podcast with Sue Bird, Rapinoe called out the commissioner for not doing enough to protect players from the toxic and racist comments circulating online and in arenas. This criticism struck a chord with many, who felt that the league's leadership was more interested in selling stories than in standing up for its athletes.
We knew it was coming. This wasn't a surprise. And not just the comments that the commissioner made a few weeks ago where she basically implied that the racial tension is good for business and invoking Magic and Bird. It's not good for business. It's never good for business. And sort of sidestep the question about racism and misogyny and hate that the players are receiving online, basically saying like, don't go on social media or, it's sort of not real.
Engelbert later issued an apology, saying, "I should have stated directly and unequivocally that hate speech is harmful." While this was an attempt to make things right, it didn't resonate with many players and fans who were hoping for more decisive action. The apology only highlighted the growing disconnect between the league's leadership and its core responsibilities, protecting players and maintaining integrity. This backlash wasn't a surprise, as analysts have pointed out that Engelbert's leadership often seemed to prioritize marketable stories over meaningful policies. By focusing on rivalries in the public eye, she drew attention away from more urgent issues, like player safety and respect. It left the impression that profits were being prioritized over principles. In fact, her response to the ongoing referee problem seemed to reflect the same approach.
Obviously, not every, they're humans, looking at technology, basketball is a little more complex than tennis, for instance, around technology of officiating. So we're looking at a variety of different dimensions.
The stakes for the WNBA have never been higher, with players like Caitlin Clark driving up viewership and reigniting excitement among fans. But Engelbert's approach could jeopardize all of that. Both fans and players are starting to question whether this leadership style is sustainable. Is focusing on rivalries just a distraction from the real issues? And how do these decisions impact key players like Caitlin Clark? If you're enjoying the video so far, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. We appreciate you taking the time to watch. Now, let's dive back in.
Coming out of college and going into the WNBA, we as WNBA players were having basketball conversations, and everybody just took it to another place where we were attacking them as people. And that's, again, where that petty and jealousy lives.
In a recent podcast episode, Sue Bird and Megan Rapinoe didn't hold back when discussing leadership within the WNBA. Bird, widely regarded as one of the greatest players of all time, and Rapinoe, a strong advocate for equality and social justice, pointed out a concerning gap between the league's leadership and the reality players face. Bird emphasized that Engelbert's comments on CNBC about rivalries missed the mark. Instead of focusing on rivalries, Bird argued the priority should have been protecting players and fans from toxic, racially charged attacks. She revealed that the environment had gotten so hostile that players were feeling unsafe, both online and in arenas, and that fans were being unfairly lumped together with negative behavior they didn't share.
There is one thing I want to reset, that we want to reset, and it's the language being used around fans. Fever fans, Caitlin fans, new fans. That actually has to go. That has to go. I understand why at times it's been used. It's kind of just when you're in an interview and you get asked a question, it's kind of easy to go, oh, the FIFA fan base.
Yeah, what do you mean by that? That has to go.
Oh, these new fans. It has to go because it's not the FIFA fans. It's not Caitlin fans.
Rapinoe backed up Bird's concerns, stating that the WNBA and its leadership failed to protect players from the negative side of the league's growing popularity. This critique highlighted a bigger issue. Leadership's priorities might be out of sync, focusing more on public relations than on taking real action. The podcast also revealed how some leadership decisions have deepened the divide between fans. Bird expressed particular worry about how unchecked commentary and rivalries were fueling real-world behavior, creating a toxic atmosphere. But the conversation wasn't just about pointing out problems. Bird and Rapinoe also called for proactive measures to fix them. They urged the league to rethink its priorities, stressing that marketing alone wouldn't be enough to address these issues.
From the WNBA's perspective, the WNBA and the league office and Kathy's role specifically is basically to protect and shepherd the league, both from a business perspective, from a player welfare perspective, from a health and safety perspective, and from a growth and investment perspective. And this is where I feel like she's failed.
As Bird and Rapinoe examined these leadership failures, one thing became clear: the players were being asked to carry an unsustainable load. Not only were they expected to perform at the highest level, but they were also left to fend for themselves against online and in-person attacks, all while trying to grow the game. Bird pointed out that this reality was slowly eroding trust within the WNBA community. The big question now is whether the league will listen to these calls for change or continue down a path that could risk its credibility and future growth.
They decided that they were going to let her know she was Rookie of the Year with a phone call in Connecticut during a practice before a playoff game. You can't make this up.
Caitlin Clark's debut season wasn't just impressive, it was historic. With record-breaking performances and game-winning shots, she brought an energy to the court that attracted new fans and reignited longtime supporters. Her impact was so powerful that analysts called it the Caitlin Clark effect, as ticket sales, TV ratings, and merchandise revenue all saw a boost. Yet, despite her massive influence, the league's response was strangely underwhelming.
Higher television ratings, higher attendance figures. Ladies and gentlemen, that doesn't come courtesy of a league. It comes courtesy of the players that play in the league. And in her case, she was the most popular, which means she could have helped your bottom line, which means you should have seen that from day one and maximized it. But you didn't do it.
The WNBA leadership's failure to fully embrace Caitlin Clark's success highlighted deeper problems within the league. Instead of using her historic season as a springboard to connect with new fans and strengthen its core audience, the leadership seemed hesitant. A prime example of this was the underwhelming recognition of her achievements. The Rookie of the Year award, which should have been a major celebration for the league, was met with such restraint that it left both fans and analysts confused.
Hey, Caitlin Clark gets hit with a technical.
I got a technical for basically being mad at myself because I missed the three and then I went and hit the backboard, and he told me it was disrespectful to the game of basketball.
This lack of recognition wasn't just a simple oversight, it was a clear signal. It suggested that the league's leadership might not fully understand how to leverage the power of its brightest stars. The implications were serious. If a player like Caitlin Clark, who brought unprecedented excitement and viewership, wasn't celebrated to her full potential, it raised a troubling question. What does that mean for the league's future?
So now it's the responsibility of the players to not only go play the damn game and to be great and to give everything that you know it takes, mind, body, soul, to be the best player that you possibly can. Now it's on them to ensure their own health and safety, their own player wellness, their own safe workplace, whether that is online, in stadiums, or otherwise. And I don't think that that's fair.
The stakes for the WNBA are incredibly high. Caitlin Clark's breakout season was a golden opportunity, not just for her, but for the entire league. Fans were excited to support her, and by doing so, support the sport itself. However, by not fully embracing this moment, leadership risked sending a message with consequences that could extend far beyond just this season. How does this missed opportunity affect the future of other rising stars in the league? While leadership missteps and marketing issues have received criticism, the core problems of inconsistent officiating and player safety have caused even deeper frustration among players and fans. Caitlin Clark's first season didn't just showcase her remarkable skill, it also highlighted the gaps in how the league handles fairness and safety on the court. One viral moment that fans won't forget involved Clark getting a technical foul for a minor interaction with the rim, an incident that left many scratching their heads about the league's rules and their enforcement.
Elevated television ratings, it elevated attendance, and it damn sure elevated franchise value. But now, something that y'all resisted talking about, opining about, acknowledging.
But the bigger question is this rule applied consistently across all players? Let's take a look at Diana Taurasi, who did the exact same thing, yet didn't receive a technical foul. This comparison raised eyebrows, with many wondering why the same action led to different outcomes for two of the league's biggest stars. It further pointed to the inconsistency in officiating and highlighted how these types of decisions can frustrate players and fans